So, hello and welcome back to the Improvement Season podcast. It is the quarantine podcast here in Berlin and also in London. And I think that the quarantine is a little bit harder in London than it is now in Berlin, even though that things were a little bit more restricted here in Berlin before London. But you are playing catch up, don't you?
It's the COVID Chronicles.
Yeah,
so,
it's COVID Chronicles.
Yeah, for some reason, I was just saying to Pascal off air, the UK looked like it wasn't really acting that fast, and the guys are all saying like, oh, we're listening to the scientific experts and this is what we're doing, we're being told. And it's like each day we just got tighter and tighter and tighter. So at the moment, and this is probably going to change even by the time this comes out, because people are not, the issue is, I was saying this to Charlotte, the weather's too good. People don't want to stay inside. And Greg Potter left me a voice message the other day, and he was walking through Battersea Park on his own, social distancing. And he was like, if you walk through here, you just think it was any old like bank holiday weekend. People are having picnics in the park.
Mate,
it's just like,
this is so crazy because of the kids, right? We thought like we can't just be inside. We need to find a place where we can go out for a walk, which is easily doable where we live. There are not many people here. It's not in the midst of Berlin, right? So we thought like there's a forest just like around the corner. We thought like, hey, yeah, no one is going to the forest. So went there, and yeah, it was unbelievable. We couldn't find a parking slot anymore because it was so full with people, where it's just like, I said to Katie, like, okay, we are turning around because otherwise I would just be a hypocrite, because I'm actually complaining about the people who go out and meet up where other people are and take it lightly at the moment. We are not going out here and go out for a walk. We are driving home again. And she totally agreed, because she was also someone who kind of, a friend of hers, she was basically the same. She was one of those who's still meeting up in a park and doing sports with 20 other people. It's like, what the fuck? What is wrong with you? Or those parents who still meet up at a playground, even though the kindergarten is closed and the playground is completely full with all the kids that are now not in the kindergarten meeting up at the playground, where it's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? There's a reason for why the kindergarten is closed, so that the kids aren't together. And then it happened, right? And this is where also Germany took a little bit more of a restriction, where they said like it's forbidden to now be at a playground. Also now here in the last week, it's now prohibited to meet up with more than one person who's not living with you in your household.
we have that.
And I think that's the right thing to do. We've already talked offline, and I don't want to talk too much about it, but I just don't think that they can shut down everything for too long. And there's even already a debate about, okay, what's the exit strategy here in Germany, because it has such a severe impact on the global economy, and you can't shut down things for too long. It becomes a moral dilemma of, okay, there needs to be somewhat of a sacrifice. Are we sacrificing the entire economy, and by that each and everyone's life, or are we sacrificing potentially some people who are passing away due to that sickness? It's a moral dilemma, and I don't have the right answers for that, and I don't think that any one of the experts has, right? But this is just like what it is. That's the situation you're facing, because lives will be destroyed with that, no matter the outcome.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate at the moment, and sorry, my internet's lagging. It kind of puts me off as well when it's lagging like this. Charlotte is at home working. She's using Zoom. I think Zoom, there's been some unique areas within this industry, like within the world, that have done incredibly well out of this. Like you were talking about Amazon, also Netflix, Zoom, probably porn has done like really, really well.
Yeah. You've heard that with Italy, right? Pornhub.
Yeah.
I mean, Amazon. I think Amazon was already the most, what is it called in English? The most highly rated company in the world, like from a worth perspective.
Earning, yeah.
And I think that this has now just like doubled or tripled their with their wealth and their worth of the brand, because everyone is now ordering stuff online. Everyone. like because they are from at home, even the ones who weren't into that before that. I mean, there's always some opportunities and possibilities through because of crises. And for example, it will probably revolutionize the educational system, at least here in Germany, when it comes to like remote education, schools, how to do it, how to go about it. Also, when it comes to bureaucracy, in Germany, it's still so conservative and everything needs to be through paperwork and you need to be there. Right now, it's not possible, right? I think it will kind of cause a lot of fields to actually now make a huge jump forward. So there's not just negative things about it. And at some point, it will get better. And probably because it hurts so much, we will also move forward much, much stronger and better. Will it be tomorrow? I don't know. Will it be here next year? I don't know, because it also very much depends on how the economy now behaves and develops over the next couple of weeks. And every single day and week, it's just like one news is crazier than the other. And as I already told you, I'm a little bit into finances, and I'm keeping that one up over on the forums. Like just 2 days ago, the US announced like 6 trillion of a pump into the economy. 6 trillion. Just imagine that. And that is not the only figure that they've thrown out. It's probably now close to something like in total of around 8, 9 to 10 trillion. And it doesn't end there. It doesn't stop there, which is absolutely nuts. This is a figure that you can't even fathom of how much money that is.
It's weird because I think I wouldn't want to say this as I'm completely non-expert, but I feel like potentially the economic consequences are going to be probably incredibly impactful they're going to be across the world, because even undeveloped nations rely on us developed nations for purchasing things and then shipping things. But in the undeveloped, you think how poorly, I don't know, somewhere unfortunately like Italy have been just massively hit by this in terms of death numbers. You think like some of these poorer countries that just don't have the hospitals, they don't have the cleanliness. How are they going to deal with this when it eventually, if it reaches there? That's truly terrifying. But like you said, I don't think we're even in the peak of it yet. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, like we've said. And
that's the thing. I mean, I'm normally an optimistic person, but in this case, it will probably get much, much worse before it gets better. This is what you need to expect. And if it then gets better and it feels better, most probably, and don't quote me on that here in the future. And I really do hope that it's not coming true. But once we have defeated the coronavirus, right, and the economy is kind of recovering from that, the true challenges will first come, because of so much money printing that has been going on. So people will lose their fear. They will now go out and start buying things again, spending money. And after a while, they will come to the realization that their money isn't worth anything anymore, because everyone now has so much money. If you pump like 10 trillions into the monetary system, your purchasing power of your money becomes less. Just makes sense, right? At first, it doesn't feel like it. At first, you think like everything is cool, up until the hammer hits you and you realize that your neighbor has as much wealth, quoted in quotation much wealth, as you do in regards to the money in your pockets. And if you then realize that the neighbor beside him and everyone has basically a lot of money, then you start to realize like, okay, shit, that money isn't worth anything anymore, because the purchasing power is lower, the prices of products go up, and that is then called an inflation. And it can even lead due to what we're seeing right now with a massive pump into hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is not an uncommon thing that has happened throughout history a lot of times. And also we've seen it in several different other countries, but no one has heard of it if you're not really into finances, such as Venezuela or so. There was hyperinflation, right? But if it hits the entire global economy, you're in for a massive depression. And I really don't hope that it's becoming true. I really don't hope that it's becoming true, because that will be so much more devastating for everyone, and it will be so much more painful for everyone than what is going on right now.
On a lighter note, Pascal, what's the first thing you will be doing once you're not in lockdown and things open back up? I think our answers are probably way less exciting than other people's.
Going back into the gym.
To the gym. Haircut, surely.
Yeah,
Haircut's got to be on the list.
Absolutely.
Going out for a meal, maybe.
I had an appointment here like 2 days ago, and on Monday it was announced that also hairstylists and those facilities are being shut down. And I was just like, no, I have an appointment tomorrow. So, yeah.
I'm seriously considering like just doing the shaven look again. Just get rid of it. If it's going to be like another month where I can't cut my hair, I can't hide all of it under my hat.
I mean, if it continues for that long, I mean, the next time that your hairstylist opens again or the barbershop opens again, probably a year has passed already, and then the hair is as long as it is now.
And yeah, I mean, everyone's going to be going getting their hair cut. We're not going to be able to get an appointment.
That's true.
Everyone's going to look like hobos. I think, weirdly, in terms of, like, we've spoken about, obviously, the effects, like death rates and also economically, but also socially, how things are going to change, because we're going to have, for months, been social distancing. And it feels very weird now, because normally I'm not an extrovert or anything. I'm very like keep myself to myself anyway, so it's not that weird for me. But for people who are extroverted to hold off talking to other people and like in queues having to stay 2 meters away, it's such a weird thing. It almost brings like a little bit of a negative connotation towards other people.
Yeah,
that's like just socially is going to be a weird thing to deal with.
So I'm the only one in the household who goes out and picks up groceries because I don't want to put my kids into that situation and stuff, right? And whenever I'm walking past someone, I'm actually taking the distance, and even though that they didn't make the intention of doing so, and I'm just looking weirdly at them. And when someone is like, I don't know, coughing like a couple of meters away, I'm just like, what is going on here? In the morning, I was at the grocery market, and there was that one gal standing just down the corridor, and she was coughing, and I was just like, okay, I'm not walking past her, I'm going the other way now. Stuff like that. And it's so funny because, not so funny, but in general, what is going on right now will definitely, the world will never be as it was before. This happened to some, so these are these black swan events. So a black swan event, I don't know if you've ever heard of that, is a very rare, but a very rare event that is taking place and has a global impact. Well, it has a massive impact, at least on the population. Most of the time now, because our society is now a global society, so to speak. It has an impact on the entire world. This is one of those black swan events. It doesn't really happen often, but when it does, then it basically impacts everything. This also happened like the last time, something like 2008 financial crisis. It wasn't like as big back then. I mean, it hit certain sectors very, very hard. But for me personally, when I look back, it didn't really impact me at all. So, and the last time I really can remember was something like 9/11. 9/11 changed everything. The world was different after that event than it was before. Everything changed. And I think especially the US citizens can attest to that. Before that and after that, these were two different worlds, right? And this is one of them. Once there was a time before the coronavirus, at least for us now, there will be a time after the coronavirus. And yeah, it will just change everything. And I find it very compelling and interesting, while at the same time I'm actually very scared about what the future will hold, because I'm also, once again, I'm watching closely the financial sector, and I know that the potential outcomes are not very nice, because that bubble that has been created since like 100 years. And holy shit, if it really goes down with things that, or the indicators that may lead now to that outcome, I mean, once again, it's just like, I'm not hoping that it will take place. Like, honestly not. I really do hope that something comes up. I don't know what, right? Because the measurements that are being taken now, they don't really help. They help acutely, and this is probably what they have to do, especially in the US with all the monetary support. This is what they have to do. There's no other way around it. But at the same time, it's not good for a longevity perspective. So uncertain times, and it's kind of normal that everyone is a little bit on their feet and a little bit anxious and feeling, I don't know, a little bit unwell because of that uncertainty.
It's actually really great that you brought up the 9/11 example, because now that's like our new normal. So I don't really think about it, but I wasn't of an age where I was traveling on my own and knew what that entailed. But from what I know, traveling was just more free and it was way easier. And now it's quite slow a lot of the time to get through an airport, let alone all the other measures that are into place. So yeah, I think there'll be some things like that are taken in place. And I don't know if it was in China, was it SARS? And ever since then, a lot of Chinese, like, they wear the face mask just regularly when they have a cold and things. It's quite a normal thing. So yeah, it's crazy actually. But if we can bring it home to us guys, how are things on your end in terms of training, nutrition? How's that all going? I know you've been felt like you're in a bit of limbo at the moment.
Yeah, it was, and I kind of still am. I'm still cutting. But also just because I'm a little bit in the in-betweener zone at the moment, where it's just like, I'm not feeling terrible at the moment. I am feeling definitely the diet slowly, because I'm now at around 76 to 77 kilograms, which is, I mean, from where I've started the journey at 90 kilograms, right? This is a long way already. And yeah, I can really slowly start to feel it. And also, especially because that goal is now gone. It's not really gone, but it's now so far in the future, and I'm still unsure of whether I want to compete then next year or maybe the year after. So first in 2 years, because when I take a look at myself, I'm just like, man, you need more muscle mass. You need more muscle mass, especially just due to that loose skin problem. Right now, I'm sitting at around 76 kilograms, and I would have assumed that I'm looking so much more muscular, and that the definition is now coming out. Whenever I'm kind of flexing my chest, right, I actually have to push my skin to the side to actually start to see definition. Other than that, it just looks kind of like the same as with 83, 84 kilograms. And it's just a little bit frustrating and disappointing. So yeah, right now I'm just like, I still want to see the 75 kilograms on the scale, because I haven't done that since like 3 years. But is it really necessary? When I take a look at my entire schedule that I outlined for myself, it's not really. It's more like a mental thing, because I would like to then gain up to 80 kilograms and not really exceed that. Just mental perspective, right? The number on the scale doesn't really tell you much, but at the same time, I'm just like, it's so cool to finally be below 80 kilograms once again. And if I'm now reversing, I will be there much, much quicker again. I don't know. What's your take on that one? Because we didn't really discuss that offline.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because it's tricky. I think the good thing is I wouldn't recommend anyone dieting below a point of which where they really feel the diet. So like they're getting the low libido, they're getting the hanger, they're struggling day to day to stick to the diet, and it's actually really tough for them. So like lower end settling point in terms of body fat, if they're not competing, I just think that's a position a non-competitor should never need to worry about going to. So if you're getting to that point, I don't encourage it, because I think it's kind of time wasted, because I don't think being there is productive. But if you're not quite at that point, I think it's quite a nice opportunity to see where your lower point is and see what would be an actual like position you could diet down to, maintain, and then dig from. I think that would be quite a unique opportunity. And you've kind of got the momentum of the diet going. Like you're in your mesocycle, you've got your meals, you've got your diet head switched on. So it's just a case of like just going through it. So I'd say if you got to a position where you're like, oh, this diet is getting way harder than it should be, it's taking away from my ability to be with Katie, with the kids, work, just day to day, I'm just dreading kind of having to be in this deficit, I would like either slow down the pace and just finish it off, or just end it sooner than you wanted.
Hey, Pascal here. I just quickly wanted to remind you of our online coaching service. At Revive Stronger, we put a huge emphasis on the personal aspect of our coaching. And if you want to take your physique and knowledge to the next level, hit the link in the description below.
I mean, I have like nearly each and every single day, I'm just thinking like, I'm happy when that cut is over. And then in the same thought, I'm thinking like, yeah, but at the same time, do I have any kind of other things to do at the moment? Not really. So you see the dilemma or personal dilemma in that, where it's like, yeah, I could eat more. Of course, everyone could always eat more. It's much cooler and much more pleasant to be at maintenance or in a surplus. But at the same time, I'm thinking like, is it just me wanting to go down that more convenient route now? Because it's just a nice compelling thought of eating more. And now that the stage isn't there here this year, it's just like, more convenient thought in general. Or is it me just like really starting to struggle? I mean, at times I can feel that I'm much more irritable. And I hate myself for that. I really do hate myself for that. Just recently I recorded myself when I was doing my workout from at home. And Hugo came in. Hugo was awake very early as well. Katie was still asleep with Tony. Came in. He got in the way. And I said something. And I thought and perceived it as if it wasn't like as harsh as it sounded, right? And then I stopped the video and went over to that to that position in the video. And then I was just like, I don't know. I rewatched myself. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Why are you talking like this to a 3-year-old kid? Man, get your shit together.
I will say, it's tricky when, I don't know about you, Pascal, but I am my most irritable probably when I'm training or just after I've trained. There must be probably something biological to it where it's just like your adrenaline's up, maybe testosterone's like a bit up or something. But I am, like, it even happened to me. I was training here and Charlotte went to close the door and I was like, don't fucking close the door, I'm filming, because I like had my camera outside the door. And after my workout I went out and I was like, I'm sorry I saw at you, it wasn't appropriate. And I'm not at that point like where I'm hangry. It's just when I'm training, I'm like, I get irate a little bit easier than normal.
That's true. That is also me. But I think that this video was kind of how I am at the moment.
Okay. It's good I
have to admit that to myself, even though that I don't want to admit it, because it's also hard for everyone here in the household right now, right? Hugo can't go to the kindergarten. He has no friends around, no other kids to play with, right? It's boring with us. We have our obligations, right? We don't always have the willpower to do everything that he wants at the same time, right? He's also like in that age, and I talked about it here a couple of weeks already ago, that he is a little bit in that autonomous state, but at the same time, he can't grasp consequences. He's just like a little bit in a tunnel vision where this is what I want now and everything else is not an option. And then he goes rampage mode, goes wild. Then you have to actually be a little bit louder. Then he starts crying because he doesn't like it to be when you're louder. Stuff like that, right? And of course, it kind of all comes together because the entire thing is tense for everyone. But at the same time, I think it's not to the kid, or in the kid's responsibility to actually then watch out for me. It's, of course, me as an adult, because I have my emotions, or should have my emotions under control, and I should be able to look at everything like a little bit more calm. Sometimes it's not possible, and I hate myself for that. And I also think it's easy to blame the diet for that, but I also think that it has something to do with that easily. So yeah, that's why I'm just like a little bit all over the place, where I'm just like going back and forth each and every single day with myself, because it's like, okay, this is how I feel at the moment, but right? So yeah, this is where I'm at the moment. So
how long should you have left?
To the 75 kilograms, you mean?
till the end of this like mesocycle of like, yeah.
Well, I mean, the mesocycle is what has now begun due to the Corona mesocycle.
Okay, so you're like in a week, first week of it.
Kind of, yeah. It's
Second
week now. So yeah, but end of second week it's now. So theoretically speaking, next 2 to 3 weeks. And I don't right now. I don't like the thought of that one to continue dieting for 3 more weeks.
And if you were to stop, it would be like going through a bit of maintenance and then gaining. Yeah.
I think that's a wise idea. Even though that I have a very good understanding right now, I think where probably my surplus would be, just because the last maintenance phase isn't that long time ago, and I still can go out for walks, so it's not like you where you're restricted to 1 walk per day. So yeah, don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy having like that's where I am right now. My step count was averaging 17,000, and now I'm struggling. If I can get 15,000, like that's good, and that's me like walking up and down this. Like we're 9 flights up, so I normally take the lift. So I end up walking up and down that a few times.
Hey,
that's tiring.
But that's good actually.
So and then I just like I walk a little bit more than normal when I'm on that like on the walk. So yeah, I'm at the moment though. I hadn't really been gaining weight. I went down for a couple of weeks. It came back up. So I'm still sitting around 180 pounds and eating like 3,500 calories, which is pretty good. So I think at the moment I probably want to be in a surplus. But I'm kind of similar to you. I'm a bit limbo-y because I'm like, do I really want to push like a proper surplus with my current training setup? Not that it's bad. I think I've just got in my head because I haven't got the dumbbells and my barbells and all of that. I'm like, am I creating enough stimulus? Because it just feels different. But training at home has been hard. This is my first week of it and it's been tough. But this is something I was going to say, a niche area of the economy. I was saying to Charlotte, these websites that are selling like home gym equipment, they must have made more money in the past week than like the entire last year. They're completely sold out, like with back orders. They've had to stop taking orders because they're like, we can't deal with this. It's nuts. Yeah. And now their delivery time went from 3 to 5 days to up to 21 working days. That's a month delivery time. So, oh God. So every day I was winding myself up, trying to contact them to hear where my stuff was. And they never replied. And there was loads of comments being like, you guys are shit. You're not replying to my thing. And then they replied to me and they're just like, your order has been like, we had stock when you ordered, but it's going to take up to 21 days. And I'm just like, fuck.
Steve, because our niche, the bodybuilders, right? They strive so much of a routine, and we are creatures of habits anyway. But especially like bodybuilders, I have the feeling that, and I count myself towards that as well, that when something isn't going as we intend to, or something interferes with our typical routine, we get massively stressed out. And also we just like think that it's actually bigger than it really is, where other people from the outside would say like, so what? Now calm down. This is really nothing to stress about, and they are right? I mean, and I'm just curious. How do you feel about the entire situation? Because I had the feeling that you are like, a little bit tense and.
It was
annoying.
really, really winding me up that I was like, yes, I've preempted this. The gyms are shutting. I bought dumbbells on the weekend before. Like I bought them they're like 10 days into the delivery time now. So like I bought them way ahead. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm really set up. I've got a bench, I've got dumbbells, a pull-up bar. And then because nothing was coming and arriving and everything was slowly getting more and more restricted, I was more slowly losing my shit as they weren't responding. Because I was like, if I'm not going to get it from them, I might as well order it from somewhere else. So I checked somewhere else. They're all out of stock. Everywhere is out of stock. So I think everyone in the UK is in the same sort of position in that, like, that's happening. And yeah, I said to you off air, I think that I'm not proud about how I've at home managed this and talked through with Charlotte. And she's been like very, very good about it because she's let me buy stuff and that will take up space in the flat that we don't really have space for. But she'd prefer me to be a little sane rather than the consequence of me just...
Isn't that, and this is not kind of in a bad kind of sense, and it's not really a surprise when I'm not now saying it out loudly, isn't that kind of a behavior of addicts?
I would, yeah, I mean, when I said I'm not proud, it did make me like, I was like, oh, I've reacted in a way here. And I think it's particularly heightened because of the uncertainty of length of time. If someone told me, Steve, the gyms are going to reopen in a month, I'd be like, cool. Like, I wouldn't sweat it. But because I'm like, could be a month, could be 2 months, or no one knows, we're going to reassess and we're going to see what happens. That's what, that element of uncertainty really, like, that's what made me a bit like, oof, I haven't got like a home gym, I haven't got space for it, delivery times are taking ages, and that all accumulated to make me feel very, very like wound up. And I feel better about it now that I've been doing the home workouts. That actually helped. Seeing that I could create a stimulus with fuck all at home basically was very nice. But that initial, like, that feeling of just the lost, and that's, I think, why me personally, I don't like flying, because it's complete lack of control. If something fucks up in the air, I can't do anything about it. But if I'm, I don't know, not that I can do anything if I'm in a train or a car, but it feels more like I can because I'm on the ground. So yeah, it's something I know in my own personality, and I think it's why I'm drawn to bodybuilding, is because I am that obsessive, controlling person.
I think it's valuable for many, many people to now go through it, to once experience it, to then realize, holy shit, I can create a massive stimulus. My sessions can be hard as fuck as well, and I have nothing to worry about. And sometimes you just need to do it and go through a period like this as well, because I had my doubts at first as well, where it was like, holy shit, gyms are closed now. What am I supposed to be doing for that long of a time? I know that, yeah, probably I can maintain, but come on, really? Like a hard session at home? I probably need to do a high repetition, full body workouts each and every single day. Do I want to do this? And then all of a sudden, I started and I was pleasantly surprised how freaking hard it can be. And I was still able to work in the 5 to 15 repetition ranges nearly on all of my exercises. And yeah, I'm kind of starting to enjoy it. And it also gives me a little bit of a mental relief, because now I know, having gone through it, that if a time comes in the future where I'm going on holiday and there is no gym available and I still want to train, hey, no worries whatsoever. I can easily make that happen then.
Yeah, my only experience with this was like going on holiday for, I think, the longest maybe 2 or 3 weeks, where I didn't have proper access to a gym. And so it was like I was just maintaining. Whereas now I was like mid-mesocycle, still wanting to make progress. And like you said, you just have to make, like, you just are trying to find exercises that truly challenge the muscles. So whether you add pauses, slower eccentrics, you put the muscle in a really disadvantaged position, it's surprising how little load you need for that.
Shit, yeah.
It's crazy, actually. So yeah, absolutely. I did like Nordic curls. I tried those like years ago, and I hated them because they're a fucking hard exercise. But to challenge the hamstrings with no load, your body weight is sufficient. Hook your legs in. I mean, I needed assistance, so I needed a band to get me back up. Otherwise, I'd just be... But you can do those. Yeah, it's actually surprising how much you can get done with little equipment. And yet, like you said, I kind of wish I'd gone through a week of training with the equipment I've got, which is really not very much, before I bought a load of stuff. I'm fine with buying dumbbells, because I even was like, I can use those for PM sessions if I can't be asked to walk to the gym. But yeah, buying the barbell I've bought and the plates I've bought, that is stuff that I'm like, this is investing in a home gym at some point, or the Revive Stronger gym at some point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole once again, because we've talked about home workouts last week already, but so many people have that notion that you need to push to failure, that you need to have a barbell, and if you don't, then you're losing muscle mass. And I can't, and we've talked about it offline or off air already, I can't see a proper rationale for that, because the scientific literature doesn't support that, and also anecdotal experience doesn't support that either. So I don't know where this idea stems from. Maybe it's just like that bodybuilding dogmatic mentality that has been around for such a long time that makes people think, okay, you need a barbell and you need to push to failure, because otherwise all of the muscle mass will be lost. but everything speaks against it. There's more and more evidence coming out, once again, anecdotal, but also then from a scientific perspective that speaks or shows the contrary to that statement. And yeah, just knowing that, I wouldn't continue that cutting phase if I weren't convinced that I can still induce a significant stimulus that at least maintains the muscle mass or increases the muscle mass. If I wasn't convinced about that, I wouldn't be in a caloric deficit.
Yeah, I think the thing is, the only difference really, once you have a good setup, is the stimulus to fatigue ratio of movements. And then if you auto-regulate, it might be that some of like Nordic curls are probably incredibly stimulating, to be honest, because it's basically just controlling like the eccentric portion is just hell. But then you just auto-regulate volume. So if you need to do some more sets because you haven't got that much load or it's just not as stimulating a movement, then you just can do some more sets. The principles don't change as you outlined there. So one random question. What's your favorite exercise you've done at home so far that you don't do in the gym? I guess you can do it in the gym normally, but I'm guessing you don't.
Well, I mean, there have been a couple of surprises here. So I actually really enjoyed the split squats. I haven't done split squats in a very long time, even though that I'm typically prescribing that to a lot of my athletes. The downside of being self-coached, right? You're hardly ever picking those exercises that are just like a pain in the ass to do. But yeah, especially those, I was doing them and they are just like, holy shit, my legs, boy, oh boy.
What's your setup for those?
I mean, what exactly do you mean? With the bands and all that kind of stuff? So I do actually two variations of those. So one is I have a black band that is ripped, and that's why I can actually kind of hold on to that one. And then I'm actually putting a little bit of emphasis on the forward showing leg, and then I'm pulling back. So when I'm pressing up with the leg, I'm actually coming to the midst of my center of gravity. Then the other variation that I've done today is I'm putting a band underneath my front facing foot. Then I'm putting it behind my neck, wearing a weighted vest as well. And then I'm basically putting nearly all of my weight on that leg and not really a lot of my leg that is just like acting as a stabilizer. So it is kind of a single leg press, so to speak. And then for something else that is targeting a little bit more the hamstrings and the glutes, I'm doing something like Bulgarian split squats. So, but what about yourself? Are you doing it somewhat differently?
So I haven't done any quad training from home yet.
Oh, okay.
So I have in my head split squats, and I was thinking, I didn't know exactly how I was going to set up. I was going to put the weighted vest on, potentially, like you said, stand on one band, so I've got the tension there, and then maybe try and do it from like a deficit with my squat shoes on to just emphasize the quads massively. I imagine that's going to be fucking hard, to be honest, because they're hard body weight anyway. Or I was going to do like a Bulgarian split squat, basically, because they're super hard, just body weight anyway. They're really tough. And then I'm in my metabolite mesocycle anyway, so I was like, I could just use my knee wraps and do some BFR stuff. So I might do that. I'm considering seeing if I can set up a leg extension with the band and stuff. That can be a little bit tricky and awkward, and so I might try that. And sissy squats are terrible. They're amazing at home, but they're such a painful exercise.
I'm actually doing hack squats, leaning against the door. Have you seen that?
The foam roller?
No, I'm using just a towel on my back so that I'm not putting any kind of scratches into the door. So weighted vest, also there standing on a band, then leaning against the door, doing the hack squats. Amazing, actually. And then nearly the same I'm doing with kind of squats, where I'm using this time, though, two bands. And then I'm holding onto the door as if it's like a belted squat, you know? And that is amazing as well. I mean, it works. So
that's something I don't think I've got enough weight, but I have a dipping belt and I have a bench and a table, so I could try and do like a pit shark, like weighted squat, but I just don't have enough like actual weight. The bands are needed for me.
That's the good thing that I actually bought like 2 weighted vests, because now I have like 30 kilograms that I can put on my frame. If I want additional weight, I could even take on a backpack as well. Then with 2 cables or 2 bands around me, it's enough. It is enough. I can promise you that. Yeah.
What I will say to listeners is you need to be, when we're talking about productive training, I think people need to realize that sometimes when you're setting up with bands and with weighted vests and you're training at home, it can be difficult to like, sometimes the bands just, they move around, they slip, they slap you. You need to try and get in a position where it's stable and it's good. You can. Because I was doing banded good mornings. And when I first tried, I was like, oh, how am I going to keep the band here? And then I just put my hands in a certain position. And I was like, oh, I've hooked them in now. I can get stable. I can make sure the muscle's the limiting factor. I think at home training can be fucked if you just end up, it's your cardio or your grip, or it's just awkward, or the bands like are just everywhere. You can try and get too fancy with it. Just lock yourself in, make sure there's tension on the muscle group. You're good to go. That's what I would say has been my key take point.
No, absolutely. And some people are saying like, okay, my bands aren't giving me enough resistance. It's too light. But that's the beauty about bands, right? You can just like step 1, 2, 3 steps further back, and then you have even more tension on the bands. So when it's too light, it's not really a problem. But some bands are just too hard to actually then pull into position. That's why. So I purchased a couple of new bands from Strength Shop just to have a little bit more variety. And I had a very hard time to deciphering the length. Okay, what's an appropriate length? So I picked up one of each and every single length. And there's one that is that tiny, like
like a mini one. Yeah.
Shit, what am I supposed to be doing with that one? But probably something I can find. Maybe standing on it with 1 foot and then do like rows should work as well.
You're lucky that actually Strength Shop have delivered in decent time, because I
mean they are sitting and located here in Berlin. It's not that far away. They got their gym here.
Oh, so, awesome! I didn't know that was there. That's really cool. I thought they were English for some reason.
I think he is from Finland. The owner is from Finland. Yeah, and they got their. I mean, I know that they are shipping from here Berlin as well, and also they have their gym. So yeah, it was. I ordered it like 2 days ago, I think, and yeah, arrived here today.
Damn. Yeah, like I said, I ordered to age my stuff age. The one thing that came was the bench, which has proven to be useless because I've got nothing to use it. But yeah, the exercise, just to bring it home, the door pull-ups for me have been like awesome. They are great. We have really strong doors here, but a few people messaged me and said you can like wedge a book underneath the door to keep it strong, and that makes complete sense. So if people are worried, I do that.
Yeah, I've done that before my pull-up bar arrived, and holy shit, they are tough. It's just because that resistance, you are kind of rubbing yourself against the door, and because of that, you're creating even more resistance to pull up, and they are so freaking hard. I was only, I don't know if I should tell my rep number.
One rep.
No, I was able to pull off like 3 times 10, and then after that, I was already like fried.
Hi guys, Steve here. Just wanted to take a moment of your time to remind you of the Revive Stronger member site. Inside, you'll find a thriving forum, a growing exercise library, presentations, research reviews, and courses. If you want to get involved, sign up via the description.
Awesome. Cool. Should we get to some questions? I don't know how long we've been.
Yeah, we're already 45 minutes in.
Oops.
Sorry, guys. Maybe next time. No, but we will get to some questions. So the first one, you guess from...
Andrew?
Yeah, it is Andrew Potacek, our Patreon supporter. Can an arm day be beneficial if they are a priority? Hope everyone is staying positive through this time, and I wish everyone the best. Likewise, Andrew. Likewise. I wish the gains would stick around with you, but I'm quite certain they will. So, can an arm day be beneficial if they are a priority? And
so, Andrew actually, his gyms have shut in Australia, but he has a mate who has a garage gym, and it's legit. Like he has barbell, he has basically a gym, so he is well set. But in terms of an arm day, I don't know if we've actually talked about this in Andrew's updates yet, but in my opinion, having like generally you have like a push day, a pull day, or like a quad dominant leg day or a hamstring dominant leg day, and they're all big muscle groups that like need prioritizing, and they're generally trained at least twice a week. Whereas when you are training things like, especially the biceps, they're a much smaller muscle group. That tends to mean that their recovery time is a lot quicker, and they get hit within these pulling sessions as well. Triceps are a bit bigger. Again, they potentially could do with slightly higher frequencies like the biceps, because they just recover a bit faster because of the fact that there are smaller muscle groups. There's less total kind of disruption going on there. So I tend not to program like arm days, even if they're a kind of something that is particularly needs to be emphasized. I would more so make sure that my frequency of the arms was an appropriate amount, and the volume within each session was stimulative, and potentially change some of the upper body movements to be more emphasized towards the arms. So it might be that we're doing close grip bench presses rather than a standard grip. It might be that we're doing chin-ups instead of like wide grip pull-ups to emphasize the biceps a bit more. So you can do that, and also potentially bias the sessions to having arms before like you're pulling and you're pushing. And then again, you can put things at maintenance volume and put the arms on the front burner. But I think having an arm specific day doesn't make, I just don't think I'd ever go to the gym to just train arms. It just doesn't make sense for me, because that tends to be more of a old school kind of bro-ish mentality where we destroy one muscle group once a week and then go again. Whereas I don't think the triceps and biceps need a ton of volume within one session to get them stimulated well, but they recover very quickly, especially the biceps. Triceps, maybe I've trialed 3 times a week training them. That seems to be about the highest I can go to. But yeah, biceps 4 times a week is not unheard of, 5 maybe. But yeah, because they're so small, doing a whole session, it would just be like, don't know, do 4 sets on each. They're almost stimulated to the max.
Yeah. This is, so last week, someone was asking, or the week prior to that, anyway, someone was asking at least whether there's something we disagree on with RP. And at least for me, there's definitely one thing, and that is the minimum volume for a muscle group per session. I don't think that you need something like at least 4 sets for a session, because the first session, the first sets are not as great. The mind-muscle connection isn't there. I can tell for certain that the quality of my sets from set number 1 is kind of the same throughout the entire sets. And this is also something that I can even more so say that with 100% certainty for Z, so one of my clients. The amount of volume he's doing, you would be very skeptical and like, what? This is enough? And take a look at him. He's a beast. He's a freaking beast. And if he says like, okay, I only need like 2 sets of RDLs and 1 set of leg curls and I'm done for the hamstrings, I do believe him, because this is something that we have figured out over 3 years now. All right. And three sets doesn't sound like a lot, and especially like 1 set of a leg curl. Who would ever do that like from the get-go? Who would prescribe 1 set only? I mean, the high intensity crowd, but but this is something I disagree with in regards to the amount of sets that you need per session to make it actually work and stimulative. And especially, like you said, the biceps, the triceps, they probably don't need as much per session just because there's such a huge crossover effect. We know that from the scientific literature, when they are taking a look at something like bicep growth, tricep growth, and the perfect study for this is, for example, the 45 set study by Brad Schoenfeld. They actually have done not direct bicep work, not direct tricep work or so. This was created by something like pull downs and stuff, right? And you could even there detect the significant difference in muscle growth. If that is already there, without direct work for those muscle groups, you can bet your ass off that 2 or 3 sets for a single session should be sufficient because those muscle groups have been worked quite intensely already from the previous exercises that didn't directly target them, but where they were just like massively involved as well. And everyone knows that from doing like bench presses, right? Especially the powerlifters. Most of the time, the triceps is what actually gives in and not really the chest musculature or so, right? That's why I'm also a big believer of like, if you want to grow your biceps, instead of having like a dedicated arm day, just increase the frequency. And even if it's as little as only like doing 2 sets extra per day. When I'm doing like 2 sets of a biceps in the rep range of 10 to 20 or so, the third and fourth set, the fourth set is already like very subpar. So yeah, just my take on the matter when it comes also to the set volume per session.
Yeah, I think even I don't do it often, but I certainly start with 1 set on occasion for some things, like lunges if they haven't done those in a long time.
Oh yeah,
I've learned that 1 set is enough. But I have done for things like hamstrings, where people have quite a low minimum effective volume, but quite a high MRV. I'm like, I could start with 1 exercise and that's enough. But by the time we get to the end of the mesocycle, you want to spread that over a couple. So then I'm like, okay, we'll do 1 set on this just to get you kind of into the movement. And then the next week it comes up. But I'm the same. I think for a lot of, especially biceps for me, if I do 2 sets, I've got a good stimulus from 2 sets. So yeah, I think a minimum of 3 is it's like saying your minimum effective volume is 10 sets. There's a rule of thumb. Some people are much lower. Some people might be much higher than that.
And sometimes there will be days where I need a little bit more time to get into the groove of things. Absolutely. I can totally understand where this notion is coming from when people are saying like, I need to actually build up that mind-muscle connection. But normally I go in there, warm up, and it's go time from the first set. And yeah, thing is, the only thing where I'm struggling a little bit is the chest. And this is also something I think you can see on my physique, where I'm not as well connected as, for example, with my back.
Right. Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think it's probably the same with my biceps, where they just respond, like they're a strong point and they just respond really well. And I'd say particularly the lower set numbers and like the lack of the requirement of extra sets to get warmed up in the mind muscle connection for isolation movements. Like it's an isolation movement. There's only it should feel pretty connected. You're isolating that muscle group. So I think even for isolation movements, the set numbers can be even lower, especially because, like you said, the crossover effect, they're already getting a good stimulus without even training them in an isolated manner. So that's totally fair.
Cool. Ivaio, I can't really remember his last name because it's I think Kirill once again. No, it wasn't Kirill. What was it again? Sorry for speaking out my thoughts once again. It's Ivaio Amuchev, I think it was. If muscle maintenance is the primary goal while training at home, we can ensure somewhat of a progressively overloading training in some shape or form. Would a slight surplus, say about 5%, be more beneficial for that purpose than maintenance calories, just to be on the safe side? Stay healthy, guys, and cheers.
So his question was basically, if you're trying to grow muscle at home, would a surplus be a good idea?
If muscle maintenance is the primary goal.
Oh, okay. So
should you be on the safe side in that you are in a slight surplus, or just like try to opt or aim for maintenance, even if that means that you may go down a little bit at first?
So no, I would just be at maintenance. If the goal is to maintain muscle, I would just eat at maintenance, because if you're providing maintenance volume and you eat in a surplus, then you're going to gain fat, unfortunately. But I guess your concern is, am I providing enough volume for maintenance? And then you're like, I might be underdosing, so I'm going in a surplus to kind of make sure that I'm maintaining all the muscle I can be. And I would say in a surplus, your maintenance volume requirement is probably even lower than when you're at maintenance, but by a small margin. I would prefer you to do a little bit more volume at home than to eat in a surplus to secure yourself. I don't think manipulating your calories is the right answer. I think manipulating your training volume is probably the right answer. In addition to that, I believe there's pretty good data out there to say that if you're eating at maintenance and like not training, you can maintain your muscle mass for 2 weeks without having to worry. It's only after the 2 week point you start losing muscle very slowly when you're at maintenance calories. So I would say, like, if you're doing some training whilst this is happening and you're eating all your protein and you're eating at maintenance, you're not losing your muscle, don't worry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's more and more evidence coming out with ridiculously low numbers in regards to the amount of work that you actually need to do. I think that when you want to be on the safe side, there's always like that recommendation being thrown around with 1/3 of the volume. And I think that is probably very safe then, but you could even go much, much lower. And there
1/3 is so low as well.
Yeah, but there are already like papers showing like 1/9 and even
so
something
low.
like, yeah, 1 set per body part per week is enough to maintain your muscle mass for 3 months. Where it's like, I don't think that this is the case for more advanced lifters. That's why I would say, like, okay, if you really want to be on the safe side, 1/3 is probably a good thing. And then I think you can be rest assured that you're not going to lose a significant amount of muscle mass.
Because you think even 1/3, and let's say it's 1/3 of like 10 sets. You're doing like 3 to 4 sets per muscle group per week. You could do that one full body session, you're done. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, absolutely. So our man, Brad Freeman, I hope you're doing well, Brad. Initial lessons, realizations you found training at home, ability to be creative, and new exercises you've tried, etc.
So I think we probably touched on that a lot when we were initially speaking, but I think something that I'm reiterating to clients, a few things that I'm making real sure of, is that they tell me exactly what they have available at home. Because some people, they have dumbbells, they have barbells, they have the whole lot. And I don't want to go programming them bands or body weight stuff when they have all of this stuff they could just be using. Whereas other people, they have just their body weight and they have nothing else. That's what they think, at least. Then I introduce like the idea of bags, getting people to think outside the box a little bit. People are like, Mike Chalice put up a video where he put 2 chairs next to each other, put some books on each chair, and then did dips off them. That's awesome. I've had clients doing dips like between a washing machine and a dryer. And actually, there's no difference to doing them on that than in the gym. So I'm playing with things at home, like with my TRX. I can like attach bands to it so it's coming from a certain angle. So it's just being creative is probably the biggest takeaway I've got, and not kind of, thinking that you can only do things a certain way. Like the door pull-ups, I'd never thought of those. And then I was like, I did them and I was like, they're actually really good. Yeah. And then sliding leg curls, you can do leg curls just with your socks on a wooden floor, and you can actually, they're hard as hell. So yeah, it's been really interesting, and it's just been interesting seeing different people's takes on training at home as well. And yeah, I think that's been my biggest kind of takeaway.
Yeah, for me, it's of course, I think that every personal trainer can now attest to that. It's a extremely new experience in many, many different ways, especially the offline PTs. We've talked about it last week, that I would like to see offline PTs offering now classes still, like YouTube virtual PT sessions. And I've seen, exactly. I've seen Arne, I've seen Harry doing that, and this is the way to go. And I think that for them, it opens up a whole new
product,
product and also opportunity here, right? Secondary, of course, me as a personal trainer, I needed to actually start thinking about prescribing things like these and doing a little bit of research, of seeing, okay, how can I best set it up for an individual? So that was kind of new to me as well. Before that, I've done like programs for holidays or so, but never that much in depth where I really needed to think about, okay, an entire mesocycle, so to speak, that is still stimulative enough for the next couple of weeks. So that was a new experience, which just like, develops a new skill for you as a personal trainer. And for me personally, as an athlete, I have to say, unfortunately, I think I got comfortable in the gym. Because it's kind of a habit, because you're going in there each and every single day, not each and every single day, right? But it was like, okay, you go in there and you do your thing. And you put on the weight, you're trying to hit a new rep here or there. but I think I got a little bit too comfortable every once in a while. And this is something that I realized, because right now you need to listen to your body more so in regards to the RERs and stuff, because you've never done those exercises maybe. And thus you need to listen to your body. When is the time that you're actually very much close to failure? And I had DOMs in areas where I haven't experienced any kind of DOMs in a very long time. For example, the upper back. And it's not because it's a completely new stimulus or novel exercise, or I'm working in rep ranges that I haven't touched in a very long time. No, it's more probably because I was able to push to an RER I haven't pushed to in a longer time, maybe.
Very interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
I have nothing to add.
Yeah. I thought you wanted to say something about that.
it's I don't have it. No,
it's all right. Let's move over to the last question.
I was trying to think of something to say.
So last question of the day, Greg Stone. What's been the most surprising or exciting thing you've noticed with the member site that you hadn't anticipated prior to launching it? Oh, very interesting question. Didn't expect that one.
It is an interesting question. I don't know what angle I want to take this up. For me, part of it is reaching out to experts to do presentations for us. How many of them were just so open to it, for very little, for not huge amounts of monetary compensation, for lots of their time, and they were very happy to do it. And that, for me, was really nice to just see that Revive Stronger is a high enough of a priority and quality and whatever in their perception. It's worth their time and effort to do a whole presentation for us without too much back to them. That was we reached out to these guys who are helping us all the time doing presentations. That's been fantastic. And then I would say the guys on the team, so including Pascal, Harry, Ryan, Jess, Mike, and also Miguel, just how everyone's come together and been very willing to invest time into, again, presentations, videos, being in the forum, Mike Chalice helping out people and being so kind of helpful with the physio stuff, how everyone's come together, and then obviously Pascal kind of manning it in a sense and kind of taking control of that. It's just been great to see everyone come together and use their skill sets. Those probably are, otherwise I might end up touching on too much. That was kind of overwhelming to see everyone just yeah, shit, this can work. This can be something really great.
The thing for me is that I had the feeling that due to the forum, I was able to get to know people better. I was more connected to them, and I really had, and that sounds a little bit weird, I had more of an interest of getting to know them than over on Facebook or on any other platform. Facebook and Instagram is more I don't know, there's a distance. Even though that I see your name, even though that you can befriend me or the other way around, it's just to me, it's just an account here. And that sounds harsh, but I think that it is just due to so many people being on the platform, right? You have a hard time actually, maybe you've read that name a couple of times, maybe you've even interacted, but do you truly have somewhat of a relationship? Not really. Over on the forum, all of a sudden, when the forum actually started in the beginning as well, and then everyone was starting to put up the training log, whenever I was posting something, I had more so the feeling that I'm speaking to that individual and that I get to know them. Because, I don't know, it's a little bit more exclusive. You got a little bit more time for them, and they maybe also in return, instead of having that social media distance between you guys. And that's what I've found so refreshing, to actually have the feeling that we are starting to be friends and become a community. And now, especially, hopefully the London seminar still goes down. When that comes, the people who will be there, who are part of the forum, most of them I know then already, which wasn't really the case before that. How often did I have times at the London seminars where someone was coming up to me saying "Hey, Pascal," I was just "Yeah, buddy, good that you're here," and I had no idea who that was. absolutely transparent. Sorry for the honesty, but that is just what it was and is. And this time with many of those people who are part of the community over on the member side, I think that it will be like, Brad, for example. That's why I said like, Brad, I hope you're doing well, because Brad Freeman is quite active over on the forum and hasn't been that active over the past couple of days and weeks. That's why I said like, okay, I hope you're doing well, because I have the feeling that I know him already so much better. This is what I didn't expect. We always hoped that we are able to build a community, but that it will come to become something like this, I've never actually anticipated.
I'm glad you brought up the forum, because I was going to go on to say the forum, but I was like, I have a feeling Pascal might say this. So I'm glad I didn't say anything. And I'd say the same. Strangely, I feel like I can be not that I'd ever feel like I'm not honest especially on here. I feel like I'm very open and honest. My Instagram, I would say I'm slightly more conservative. And then I'd say on there, I'm just like, I can say anything. Like I just, for some reason, it just, because it's like a close knit, everyone there is, don't know, they're part of the community. I can feel like I can say anything and not feel judged. Like sometimes my Instagram, I could, like, because that hits a different audience. I feel like there's some stuff on there I'm just like, I don't want to put that out because it just feels not good. Whereas here we're chatting, I feel like it can be pretty damn open about everything. But again, it's that extra level of depth I just wouldn't probably give on other platforms, just because it just seems less appropriate, not for any other reason. And like you said, being able to see people logging, and like I've seen some people's physiques who I might have actually spoken to them on Facebook or on Instagram, but then they post up their like physique, and I'm like muffins, Fuller's muffins. He's fucking jacked. I didn't realize how jacked he was.
No,
so that's really cool.
I know he's from France, so fucking French guy, fucking French guy. But in all honesty, I mean, the thing is that after I've posted my porn videos and my naked pictures there, and they didn't share it around on social media and outside of the forum, just was a proof to me that I can trust them, that I can be absolutely honest to talk shit about every single professional in the field over in the forums. So that is refreshing. That is very refreshing.
They are enlisted for life.
Yeah.
We have a policy when you sign up. There's like a contract, a prenup. Is it a prenup? Not a prenup. That's not the right word. I've forgotten what it's called. Non-disclosure something.
Yeah.
NDA. No, I forgot what the word is.
Non-disclosure agreement.
NDA. That's the one.
Yeah. And if you don't do it, you need to pay a lot of money. And also some Russian people are coming and knocking at your door, and then knocking the living shit out of you. Not just
it's Mike.
It's Mike, yeah.
And on that note, we still have 7 days free trial, right?
Yeah, we do.
So
just as a gift for you guys, and due to the current situation, because everyone is kind of bored sitting at home, Netflix, Amazon, the other streaming services needed to put down their quality, so you can't really watch your most beloved series on HD, but still over on the member side, it's still 4K. If it's not 4K, then you can still get an HD presentation. So what are you waiting for? It's the place to be. You don't want to see or watch pixelated movies anymore. This is 2020. 3060 resolution is not a go anymore. So yeah.
Come join the family.
Yeah, it's better than Netflix, at least for now.
So I'm Steve Hall, founder of Revive Stronger and a coach of Revive Stronger.
My name is Pascal Flor. I'm the co-owner of Revive Stronger and also a coach, of course.
Revive Stronger has probably been going solidly for 3 years, roughly about 3 years.
Revive Stronger, to me, it is becoming kind of my child, my foster child. It's the gathering and getting together of like-minded people.
We've been expanding the coaching team, which is helping us help more people, but each coach can only help a certain number of people.
Right now, it's all over the place. We have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, but there isn't that community aspect behind that.
And so the next step for us is developing a membership site.
So basically, we want to create a family and a community that is then benefiting from another.
A really cool community for people within our little niche is going to be a website.
They will get early access to our podcast.
You can access us, ask us questions.
The community aspect, we have a forum there. You can ask questions, but also you can log your journey.
There's also going to be courses on there.
Courses, presentations on different topics. Discount of past seminar footage. We will log our journey as well. We'll start vlogging.
We're going to have documentaries,
our entire athletic journey. Furthermore, they get access to an exercise video library.
The exercises that we love for hypertrophy and maximizing hypertrophy, we're going to go through those in depth, telling you how to execute them.
We kept them concise and also mobile friendly so that you can watch them in between your sets.
I'm super excited to grow this community. The amount of value that we're going to be delivering is huge. And I'd love you to be part of it.
You will get so much out of that.
I'll see you inside.